So thank you so much for being with us. And well, first of all, we would like to know how did the POZE approach came into being, and what did you discover about yourself through its creation?
Well, I prototyped POZE initially when I was working in Haiti with social workers, and the point of departure was the understanding that we can't really flourish or help others flourish without starting from the inside out, and that ultimately you can give outside only what you have found inside. And so the POZE paradigm began with that understanding that change starts from the inside out. And it stands, the word in and by itself, POZE, stands for inner peace. And that's what the first cohort of participants said that it gave them. And then it's just over time that it turned out POZE being also a convenient acronym for the 4 core pillars: perspective, optimization, Zenith, and exposure.
Well, thank you so much. And in the context where people struggle to meet their basic daily needs, such as in IT, that you were there, how can POZE approach begin or take root in everyday life?
The nice thing with POZE is that it's not one big shift, but it's more a small set of changes that we can start implementing every single day, and like using the Japanese practice of Kaizen, doing small things every day that accumulate. It's the same thing with POZE, that you can start with a simple breathing exercise and integrate that 5 minutes every morning, or you take a 5-minute me moment where you just take time to recenter and think about what's your purpose, what's your meaning. So it's these small incremental steps that add up over time. That is really, I would say, the magic of POZE, and that makes it tangible and relatable to everyone.
Okay. And you are involved in the AI for AI initiative, Artificial Intelligence for Inspired Action. Could you tell us about more what this artificial intelligence means to you?
Artificial intelligence for me means, very simplified, said, algorithmic prediction, and it stands in very clear distinction to natural intelligence, in the sense that it is something that is derived from human thinking, and that it is a reflection, a mirror, a very imperfect one. But it also means, because of this mirror feature, that it encapsulates a lot of the weaknesses and the caveats that characterize our human thinking and our human decision making, which means, in consequence, that we can't expect the technology of tomorrow to be better than the humans of today. So the old saying, garbage in, garbage out, still holds very true. But we have a choice in that regard. We can turn it towards values in, values out. But that is a choice.
Estás muteada, Marita. I'm sorry, you are mute.
Okay, sorry about that. Could you share a moment in your life when you felt you had reached a turning point, a place of clarity, transformation, or realignment?
I think I was fortunate that I had various of those moments, which in hindsight somehow have organically woven throughout my journey over the past years, but they were not really these dramatic life before and life after. It's more that one thing has very harmoniously flown into another one. So I wouldn't really go back to one moment and say, this is the aha moment. But I guess if I look at the itinerary, then it combines a wide range of very different phases.
Like a process. I mean, a process maybe is not sharp changes, but a process. Okay, thank you so much. And what does it mean for you, double literacy? This is a point that very interests me regarding the comparison between.
Double literacy to me means, on the one hand, human literacy, so a holistic understanding of self and society, people and planet. And on the other hand, algorithmic literacy, which means not just what's prompt engineering and what's the latest tool, but also how does AI work, why it works the way it does, and what are its caveats and limitations, which is far more granular than the current approach of digital literacy, which I think misses part of the point.
I see.
Because if we really want to curate hybrid intelligence, then we need to understand both our natural and our artificial assets.
Exactly. Thank you.
In one of your videos, you ask 4 powerful questions, like why you are here, who are you in this moment or in your life, beyond the label or the credentials, where do you stand right now, what are you doing to align your purposes in your life. For us, it was very deeply video. Not just only for the philosophical invitation, it was very, very strong for us because it's a powerful call to awaken and reconnect with the inner self. Do you think that usually the special leaders really pause to reflect on this question, and should they?
I think these 4 questions, what I call the 4 macro questions, they are important in the sense that they are so simple, but at the same time, they drill it down to what really matters. And the interesting thing is I have used those questions over the past many years in coaching, in workshops, and in other fora. And ever and again, I'm astounded to find that very few people have ever asked themselves these questions. And be that executive level or students, it's just always this big question mark that pops up in people's face when you confront them with these questions. So I like these questions very much.
It's a great invitation.
Well, the same happened to us. For us, it was very strong video for us to ask, to take a moment and ask these questions. Simple question, but very powerful questions.
We're curious about what have you learned from the South, from the global South, that you believe the global North has to fully understand or to integrate in the view, and also particularly, what role do you envision for Latin America in a broader landscape of global transformation?
I keep on learning. So I wouldn't say that I have acquired all the lessons that there are out there. But I think something that I was very fortunate to experience over the past many years, traveling in many of those countries and living there, is that life is much richer than many northern countries very often experience it and portray it. And I think in the global south, there is a much more vibrant social connection. And the word solidarity means much more. And that meaning is not just something that is on paper, but it's also something that is still very much woven into daily communities and into daily practice. So I think that is maybe the biggest lesson that I would argue matters. And in particular, as we're moving into an era where artificial devices are more and more commonplace, that interpersonal connection is maybe more essential than ever, and that we need to really deliberately and systematically resurface it and curate it.
Have you ever been in Argentina, or Uruguay, or Brazil? Have you visited?
Yeah.
Yes?
In all three of them.
Okay. What final message would you like to share to inspire today regional leaders to create a meaningful impact?
But I would say that maybe the biggest opportunity of our times, and why it's at the same time a huge privilege and at the same time a big responsibility to be a human being alive in the 21st century, is that we have a gigantic opening to really do something that will take humanity to the next level. But that means to take a step back and put things into perspective, and to consider the fact that we are the last generation that had the luxury to grow up without ChatGPT, and that we can now see the before and the after. But that means that we are the generation that now is somehow in the obligation to revamp the education system and the social system to equip the next generations with the kind of setting that is required to make them future-proof and to make them ready to preserve agency amidst AI, which I would argue requires double literacy and requires a deliberate intent to use AI for positive social outcomes. So pro-social AI. Because the technology of tomorrow is not going to be better than our intent today.
Yeah, in fact, this is a very big challenge, I guess, because, you know, there's a lot of people around, and not everybody has these feelings of using AI for the good of everybody. So maybe could think about how can we manage to make this wish that you just share possible, no? To make, I mean, to be sure in some way that is going to be like this. And my question is, how do you think we should do? I mean, which could be the way to ensure that the AI is used for good in the
I think
future?
they're very clear and practical steps depending on which part of society one occupies. But something very clear and pragmatic is to, if you're a parent, then to educate your children in that sense. If you're a teacher, start integrating simple double literacy modules in your classroom. If you're the head of a company, integrate classes around double literacy and really make it part of your corporate policy to think about the ethical implications, and not just ethics on paper, but really systematically think about what does it mean.
Mhm.
So it's something I think that puts all of us into the task to think about what does AI mean for me, for my decision making, and maybe to remember what I call the 4 A's, which is awareness, appreciation, acceptance, and accountability. And maybe if you want to retain just 2 of those, awareness of every single interaction with AI and accountability for the outcomes. Because that's the big thing, that no matter how powerful our tools become, we remain at the end of the day accountable for the outcomes. So even if there's ChatGPT 10, at the end of the day, the outcome, the responsibility is ours as human beings.
Exactly. Okay.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you think that fuels your commitment? What do you feel that to connect with your purpose? If you can say, well, these things or this way fueled me to my purposes.
Yeah, you have a purpose in what your ideas, your theoretical frameworks that you're developing, and the question is, what deeply connects you with this, and in some way is kind of a fuel for being connected with this purpose.
I don't really have a good answer to that. I think I always wanted to make the world a better place. And that sounds very naive in hindsight, but I can't really think back at any given time in my life, starting from when I was very little, where I did not feel that the world is not the way it should be and we can do better. And that whatever little I can do, I need to try. And that hasn't changed. Even so, in hindsight, I obviously know that whatever I do, it's not gonna make much of a difference, but that doesn't change me from trying. And I feel that even trying and failing is better than not trying at all.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Cornelia. It's been a very insightful experience to have this interview with you. There's a lot of things that we can keep thinking about and promoting through Conexión Austral. And so, well, I really appreciate and I'm very grateful of your interview, and well, hope to keep in contact and see your future works.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Bye, Maria. Bye, Maria.
It was a pleasure for us. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was very important for Conexión Austral to having here.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. And good luck with your work.